Hey, Pat and Doug here with another episode of the Wealthy Gym Owners. And today we're going to talk about maximizing lifetime value. While that phrase gets thrown around a lot, I don't necessarily know that it always gets talked about in a really practical, tactical way where you can, make certain moves or execute certain plays that uh, can pretty dramatically improve the lifetime value of the clients that you serve. So, Doug, kick us off. Let's talk about maximizing lifetime value.
Yeah, I think it would be good to kind of define that first, so we're clear on lifetime value. So maybe I'll start there, which is certainly understanding that's probably the like the ultimate metric we're going after, right? As much as we want business growth, it's ultimately about the larger the value of a client, the more we can spend on ads, the more profit we're going to have, et cetera. And of course, to their benefit, that formula, part of it is how long they stay. And so, yes, that's to our benefit, but also, of course, I certainly think a big part of this is making sure integrity wise, we're not just chasing the profit, but also helping the people. And so if they're staying longer, that hopefully means they like it and they're getting healthier and living longer and all the good that comes from our industry. So, I simply think of lifetime value or increasing lifetime value as how can I do things that change one or both of the variables, and the variables being how much do they spend? So how can I get them, what else can I do to get them to spend more? And then how can I get them to stay longer? And that multiplied, the longer you stay and the more you spend is what's going to increase the lifetime value. And you had an interesting point on a coaching call that I think would also be interesting to talk about when you think of lifetime value, with kind of these breaks. Lifetime value does not necessarily have to mean consecutive.
Yeah. So I think in our optimal world, right, people would have these unbroken memberships, where there would be no interruptions at all. But the reality is, I think that's uncommon, right? I think that whether somebody actually leaves as a member and returns later, or they just freeze their membership and they're gone for a month, the likelihood of somebody staying for 3, 4, 5 years without any break isn't isn't great. And honestly, it's lower than it probably used to be because there are more alternatives available to them. So I think that understanding that this isn't just okay, they're going to stay for 36 months and they're going to pay us $300 a month. So there's your simple formula. Sometimes they're with you for 36 months over a 48-month span, right? Sometimes they are with you for 60 months over a 100-month span. And we in a just recent episode talked about reactivations. Um, that's part of it. That's increasing the lifetime value of that member. Now, you could go down the rabbit hole, and I've heard lots of smart people talk about lifetime value also, kind of being extended or expanded out to like how many referrals they generate or those sorts of things. And well, I think that it's a good approach. Like philosophically, it's hard to measure. So if you think about the lifetime value being like the duration of the relationship, and I've been really fortunate, I know, in the business coaching side of what I do, I've got at any given time, there's always somewhere between 1 and 5 people who were doing business with me before 2008. And I started doing the business coaching stuff in like the end of 2005. So, I mean, people that had been doing it that long, well, zero of them are unbroken. A couple of them were just temporary shifts when I left an old company and started a new business, and there was a little bit of a window there. But still, by that definition, zero unbroken. but that relationship stayed strong. The way that, hopefully our business could deliver value to them, stayed strong. And so, when you're thinking about this, I think the reason this is so important to me is sometimes business owners like us, because we're competitive and we want this to be successful and we take things personally. Um, if somebody leaves, we see that as an end, or we have take it as this personal affront, like they're doing something to us, rather than maybe this is just an a bump in the road in their life, a change. And so if we continue to treat them extraordinarily well and we're supportive of them, I mean, we've seen enough of this throughout the years that, I mean, I know you just mentioned it in the previous episode, that outside of paid ads, the reactivation stuff is often the most effective marketing you do. Well, there's a testament to treating people extraordinarily well, so that when they leave, thinking about us in a really positive way, so that when it makes sense in their life to start a membership again, it's almost a foregone conclusion that they're starting with us.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I thought that was good to kind of dive a little deeper on, before talking actual tactics or strategies that might get people to either or spend more or stay longer. The last thing I would say with that before sharing some strategies is, even if it's a ballpark, we have to know a rough lifetime value, right? So taking, okay, my average client pays me X, and, my average client pays me, stays for X number of months, and knowing that whether it's, 2 grand, 3 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand, whatever, really important number to understand, simply because I would hope that it gives you confidence in what you're able to do on the front end for marketing, knowing that for most of us, I would say on this call, your lifetime value is definitely in the thousands, somewhere usually between $2,000 and $5,000, which means if I have to go spend $200 to get a client, I shouldn't be too concerned about that, because the average is going to be worth 5,000. So all of us, if we said, hey, give me $200 and I'll give you 5,000 back, would take that deal all day long, right? So that's kind of why this is, from a business perspective, super important. So the first thing, from a strategy perspective or from a tactical perspective, I would look at is through the lens of how we get, or what we can do to get people to spend more. Because that's one of the multipliers of the lifetime value. So kind of tying to the inconsistent, or breaks of a client life cycle, I think that the easiest one is some type of seasonal challenge that's offered internally and externally. And so examples for us would be, we always do some type of New Year's, start off the year strong challenge. We always do a summer challenge, and I'm talking internal, like keep the clients engaged, right? Challenge. So because we know the summer can be chaotic and people try to fall off. And then, as a third example, this time of year, from, like Thanksgiving-ish to Christmas-ish, we always want to make sure we have some type of challenge to keep clients engaged. And that's a great opportunity to do multiple things. Certainly helps with retention, which helps out with lifetime value, because, hopefully they're engaged with that challenge and they're able to, not fall off the wagon. But also that's a great opportunity where, those clients that may have left, we all have those clients that just come back for the New Year's program, and then they come back for the summer program, and then they come back for the winter program. And so inviting those people back just for that. And then, in that same realm, we can take current clients and kind of upgrade them to say, hey, just for this duration of the challenge, do you want some extra stuff, and charge for that? So that's probably, from a low hanging fruit, one of the easiest ways to maximize lifetime value.
The second thing that comes to mind, and I mean, this is an obvious one, but probably underappreciated, is a simple price increase. Um, a lot of times we are underpriced, or we hang on to a pricing model that uh, you know worked in you know 2022 or something like that. But the our cost of living and has gone up. Inflation has gone up. A lot of our expenses go up, and it's only reasonable to think that we should be increasing the fees that members are paying. And so it it's as simple as, if your pricing, I mean, let's say that you're um charging $300 a month on average. Well, a 10% price increase for you is, it's, I mean, it's $30 a month. It's $360 a year. But if somebody's staying with you for 3 years, we're talking it's over $1,000. That $30 that we're not overly concerned with, maybe on an individual basis on a single month, but multiply it out over over a 3-year duration of people are staying with you. And let's say you've got 100 clients. Now we're talking, this number is a six-figure number to your business. So a simple price increase, whether we're talking at minimum to new members, but then adjusting current members up to this point where we don't have this massive gap, can be just an absolute game changer.
Yeah. And just to double down on that with a case study, I think it's super important. One of the probably the more common problems we hear from new clients in our coaching programs is that gap that you talked about, where through education and through exposure, through experience, they've learned, okay, I was underpriced, and the safe way to do it is to just adjust your new pricing going forward. And although that's certainly the first step, it creates that gap you talked about, where you have the veteran clients that are paying, I mean, $50, $100 sometimes less than what new clients are paying. And so what we've often done there is, certainly you want to respect their loyalty and still give them. They should never be paying more than what the current clients are, new clients coming in are paying. However, you can do some pretty easy math to figure out. We've had plenty of clients where they've done a pretty drastic increase. I mean, I'm talking 10, 20%, which is above a normal kind of standard, inflation increase. So, you take somebody that's paying 250 and get them up closer to that 300 mark, you're going to lose people. But where you do the math and where you can build some great confidence is, we have plenty of gyms that we've seen do that jump so that their veteran clients get closer. They lose a percentage, but the percentage that they lose, they're still net positive with their growth. And so it not only increases lifetime value across the membership, but you're also not bottlenecking yourself, which is a whole nother conversation. But you're not bottlenecking yourself where you have sessions that are filled with clients paying significantly less, which inhibits your revenue. So certainly wanted to double down on that. Another lifetime value angle I would make sure we think about is, we have strategies where we can increase what somebody pays, but the other variable to that is, of course, how long they're staying, right? And so the longer they stay, the perceived or the increased lifetime value is gonna increase. Now, that is a number that you can track. It's a pain in the butt to track, but you can track it. I say it's a pain in the butt because I'm not aware of any of our common CRMs that our gyms use that have this. But it's a really important number to understand, even if you factor in some of the breaks, how long a client stays. And it's a humbling number, I will say, because a lot of our folks that have been around a while, they think of the client that they've had since day one. And they think, oh yeah, there's, Susie who's been with me 10 years. Well, we also got to factor into that there was, Mary who only stayed 6 weeks and then canceled. And so when we average that together, where is that? And I would look at, what are we doing? Really pay attention to the clients that are past that. So let's say for simple math, your average lifetime value is roughly 3 years. Other than the price they pay, what are the traits of those clients that are past 3 years? Because they've demonstrated to you through loyalty that they are staying longer than average. And so it could be that it's a certain avatar that really responds well to your model. It could be, how you recognize them or held them accountable, maybe differently than how you do it with new people. It could be the community and relationships piece of it. Maybe they have a lot more friendships that were built, so they're tied to the gym for other reasons. But really paying attention to those clients that have stayed a while and kind of putting them from analyzing, what makes them unique, what makes them different than the people that didn't stay.
Yeah, the three things that come to mind when it comes to that, at least from my kind of rudimentary observation, are community, so connection to the people that are your peers, the other people around you, the connection to the coaches, the owner, and the level of accountability. Invariably, it's at least one of those things, right? Almost always, if somebody's staying for a long time, it's one of those things, right? And very few people are great at all three, but typically you can find, some opportunity to improve in any of those areas to keep people around longer, to make them feel a part of something.
Yeah. From a real tactical perspective, the one that probably is assumed, but you do kind of have to choreograph is the, community piece of it and the connections with other people. We know that clients that stay longer have other connections aside from just the one coach that they work with. Because frankly, that's a very big goal for us, is to make sure that a client is connected to multiple people in the community, not just the coach that they like to work with. Because although we can create schedules and operational systems where they can be pushed to work with multiple coaches, the reality is everybody probably over time is going to develop their coach, maybe two coaches that they work with. And that's a big, as all of us know, that's a big con of this industry, is they get connected to that one person. And although that they have a great experience, if that person leaves or anything happens with that one variable, they're gone. And so ways to protect that, for example, we have it as part of this, we really choreograph the client's first day so that on day one, it is mandatory standard that the coach introduces them to somebody else in the session. And although that seems very small, if you think about it in the beginning, that's kind of the jump start, the catalyst to, hey, this is a small group. It's not just you and me here. It's the peers, and some people are introverted and they don't need to, they're not confident enough to go introduce themselves. They may not know it's kind of frankly standard or expected that you interact with other clients. They don't know the vibe yet. So really breaking the ice for them and kicking that off is a super easy one that, again, is it happening occasionally? Is it happening organically? Probably. But if you create that as a standard to make sure that happens time and time again, that can be an easy one. So just really choreographing how you're going to get your clients, especially in the beginning, to get past that initial hurdle so that they have connections, not just with the coach.
And that probably speaks to the value in small group training, right? There are enough people to form connections, but it's not overwhelming, and so I think that's a great one. So I want to kind of turn the tables and maybe talk about the opposite perspective on this. I think a lot of times people think increase lifetime value and they default to these ancillary offerings. Hey, I'm going to sell supplements. I'm going to sell nutrition coaching. I'm going to add in a lot of specialty stuff. And mind you, they all have their place and their, they were certainly really valuable parts of some of the businesses that I've owned. Um, but my experience is that those are not early stage fixes. Like the stuff that we've been talking about. How do we get somebody, to optimize their pricing? How do we get somebody to stay longer? How do we get somebody to be more engaged in our core offerings through some of the challenges, and those types of programs are better than tacking on something really different than what our core services are, because we don't have to learn something new. We don't have to invest a whole lot in inventory. We aren't diluting our focus. We can really try to get to be great at the things that we're hopefully already good at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's, I think, the continual focus for most of the operators that we talk to and coach is just where can we keep a singular focus on who we work with and how we help them. You don't need to go like completely over to left field to add something that is not in your wheelhouse and hard to deliver, or the chaos and stress of managing inventory and stuff. So,
Well, I think of a client of ours, Jonathan, who would bounce around from thing to thing to thing, and always hardworking, always upbeat, and always motivated. But he would stay stuck at that kind of $10,000 a month ish kind of level. And then only when he was able to kind of put the blinders on and focus on getting more people into his core program, delivering his core program better so they stay longer, dialing in his pricing a little bit, was he able to essentially double that.
mm-hmm.
And I think that that's just, such a strong case study, because you can be working hard and doing a lot of positive things, but if that focus is too diluted, it's hard to really make meaningful progress.
Yeah, 100%.
So, well, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add. I feel like those are the big levers when it comes to maximizing lifetime value. Really, the only other thing that I would say, and this is more of a philosophical thing than a tactical thing, is, I mean, we're in the transformation business. We're not in the transaction business, and so once you really kind of shift away from seeing any of the clientele, any of your member base in a transactional light, and you understand that this is an opportunity for you to really play an important part in their life, um, it'll kind of permeate everything that you do, and those people will stay longer. The businesses that have the highest churn are almost always the transactional businesses. So, just all the things that we've talked about, understand that even though, yes, we're trying to maximize the lifetime value as a number, what we're really doing is maximizing the relationship value. If they're still having a wonderful relationship with you, they're going to stay, right? And sometimes their better relationship comes from spending more time with you, 3 days a week instead of 2 days a week. So, yeah, that there's going to be this lagging indicator of increased revenue by just doing better work. So, I don't want to lose sight of that through all this, because we did want to talk tactics, things that you can plug in today. But I mean, ultimately, some of your competitive advantage is just being more valuable to the people that you serve.
Yep, for sure.
All right. Well, that is another episode of the Wealthy Gym Owners really unpacking lifetime value. So we'll be back for another episode soon. See ya.